Everybody. So I had a request to shoot a watercolor video because I haven't done one lately. So I thought since I was recording the video for the For You Tilda Copic card kit this morning, I would go ahead and just do a quick watercolor video on that since I already had the stamp out. So I'm going to use my Ranger Distress Ink re-inkers, which I have in these little palettes. I have my trusty paper towel, my Zig Detail water brush, and I have stamped my cute For You Tilda on a piece of Canson 140-pound Mott & Ball watercolor paper. So let's do some watercoloring. Alright, so I'm going to start out by outlining my image with weathered wood. So I've already checked my water brush on my paper towel and on the back of my hand to make sure it's damp. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of my weathered wood onto my brush. And I'm going to start down here towards the bottom of her foot. I'm just going to add a little bit of color, and every time my pen leaves the screen, I'm wiping off the excess ink or the excess water onto my little paper towel thing. So I just want to work that in here. So I don't want to go too far and let it dry. So I'm just doing a little section at a time. So again, I'm going to grab some more of my weathered wood distress ink, and I'm going to, let's add a little bit right here. And then we're going to brush that away from her body. And I brush it out until it fades into nothing out into the background over here. And I've run out, so let's go ahead and grab some more. And we're just going to do this all the way around, so I'm just going to work my way around my girl. And if you feel that your brush is dragging, you may need to give it a little squeeze, or if you're just dipping it into some water, you'll want to give it a little dip. I like these brushes because you can wipe them off, and they already have the water in them, so they work perfect for me. Okay, so let's go up here, and we'll add a little bit along her head. And we'll quickly wipe that off. And I got a little bit on that bow there, but that's okay because I'm going to color it purple, and so it's not going to matter that I got a little bit on there. Otherwise I would wipe it off. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's work our way over here. And I think I'm going to turn her on sideways here so I can do this side. I'll do down here at the bottom. And let's add a little bit in here. And just work my way around. One thing with watercoloring, I get out of practice because I don't do it that much, so I have to work at it a little bit more than I do with my Copics. But that's okay. It's still fun. I still like to do it. And we're just going to work our way around these flowers. And I'm not worried about getting in between the flowers there because we're going to add some green in there. Let me turn her up like this a little bit. Give my brush a little squeeze there so I can get some water going. just work our way around here back to the top. Now, I've let that dry for a second, and I'm going to add some peeled paint to my outline. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that, and it's pretty dark, so you're just going to use a little bit. And I just wanted to give it a little bit of a variation on my background this time, so I'm going to add a little bit of this green in certain, you know, various spots around her, just to give it a little bit of different color and stuff. And grab some more peeled paint. And I think I'll add a little bit up here. Whoops, that wasn't peeled paint. That was my weathered wood. Let's work that back in. Helps if I look at the little stickers I put on there so I know what color it is. Okay, now peeled paint. So since I just touched that right there and it's all wet, I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add a little bit of this in between these flowers. Just dab that in there, and then I'm just going to come back with my water and rub it around. Okay, let's get a little bit more. And a tad bit more like in here. And I'm okay that I got some on some of the flowers because I'm going to color those purple. So that's no big deal. Okay, now that my little spot over here has dried, let's go over here and add a little bit of this right in here. Whoops. Wiped off too much. So I'm going to give it a little bit of green right in here. Okay, I like that. So I'm also going to give this a little second to dry. Now let's go ahead and add some Victorian velvet. Okay, so I'm going to add some of that over here to my girl. Lighten that up just a little bit. It's a little too dark. Okay, and I want to add a little bit up here at her hair. So right up here. And maybe I'll add a little bit over on this side. Over here a little bit. And let's see here. A little bit on her shoes. I'm going to dab that real quick. Just wipe it right off with some water. Okay, and that adds just a little bit of interest to the outside. So now let's go down here and work on the ground. So for the ground, we're going to use forest moss and some peeled paint. I'm going to start with my forest moss. I'm going to grab some on my brush. And I want to give her a little something to stand on. So I'm going to take my brush and just bring me a line across, like this. And then I'm going to grab some peeled paint. And we're going to bring that down more. We'll touch the edge there where it's still a little bit damp. Just pull this down as far as you want it to go. I think I want to go a little bit farther. Let me grab a little bit more. Now let's move on to her skin. And for that I'm going to use Tattered Rose to start. So I'm just going to color in her hands and her face completely with my Tattered Rose. And I try to lay down my brush too, where I want it to be darkest. So I want it to be darkest down here at the bottom. So I started right there and then work my liquid up towards the top. Okay, and then her face, I want this side that's tipped down to be the darkest. So I'm going to put my color on over here first. And then we're just going to wipe that color across like this to the other side. And then I will give it a couple minutes to dry, and then I will be back to put on a second coat. Alright, let's add our second coat. Our Tattered Rose. Grab a little bit for her face here. And I think I'll need a little bit more. Let's see, a little bit more up here. Okay. And we'll bring that over this way a little bit more. While I'm letting her face dry, I'm going to hop down here and I'm going to add a coat of pumice stone to her boots. And I usually do that while I'm watercoloring. I will do one section. I never do a section that's right next to another section, but I jump around and I'll do, her face, and then I'll jump down here and do her boots and stuff like that, just so they have a chance to dry in between, and I'm not, otherwise I'd be painting for hours. And I'm just going to put my coat on here like this. And let's see if our face is kind of wet, so we're going to leave that. And let's go over here, and while that is drying on our boots, we'll go over here and we will add to the flowers, we will add a coat of Victorian Velvet. So let me get that palette out. And I'll grab some Victorian Velvet on my brush. And we'll go over here and we will just paint these cute little flowers with a coat of our light purplish pink. And that will give our other stuff a chance to dry. Had a little too much there, so I'll wipe it around on all the different brushes, or the different flowers, and then come back and swirl it around. Alright, and then her face is still a little damp still, so let's go add to these cute little leaves. Let's do a little bit of our forest moss and let that give it a chance to dry. So I'll grab some forest moss, and I want to give each little leaf a dab. Wipe my brush off. I'm going to come in and see if I can dab some of this up a little bit. So it's maybe a little bit not so concentrated, more towards the, and pull it down towards the bottom. Okay, I'll give that a chance to dry and I'll come back and get those. But in the meantime, let's go down here and add a little bit to our stems. And her hand's not wet right there, so I'm going to go ahead and add some of that on there. I think I'll grab a little bit more, make this bottom a little bit darker. And maybe a couple of these little patches of leaves up here could use a little bit more. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a little bit of our peeled paint in here to these stems. That way we can blend this line down here at the bottom just a little bit. Now let's add a little bit of shadow to our hands and our face, and for that I've used Tattered Rose and some tea dye that I have mixed in my little bin, and I use it all the time for shadowing, so I just have it mixed in my palette. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that, and let's add a little bit of shadows along her hand here. And we'll wipe our brush off and smooth that out. And then we'll do her face. And I'm going to add a little bit of that on this side. Get some of that excess off. I'm going to brush that out a little bit. Okay, so let's go down here now and add a second coat. No, let's not add a second coat of pumice stone. Let's do, for her boots, let's do a little bit of our walnut stain. So I'm going to grab a little tiny dab of that, and I want to make the back of her boot on this side a little bit darker. I'll add a little dab on there and then just kind of very lightly brush that. Okay, and then we'll grab the other side of the boot. My water brush is having some issue here. Let me wipe that off real quick. Start over. Okay, and let's do the back of this one. A little bit of shadow back here, and we will come back in a minute when that's dried a little bit, and we'll add a little bit more. So while that is all drying, let's go, and I think her face is dry, so we're going to go and add some cheek color. Okay, so for our cheeks, I'm going to use worn lipstick. Let me move my palette over a little bit. And I'm just going to brush a little bit of that on, get it started. And worn lipstick is really dark, so you want to start with a little bit and then work and add more in. Let's hop down here and add another coat to our shoes. So I'm going to grab some walnut stain, and I want to darken up this shoe a little bit more for sure. I'll just bring that up here. And the back of this one a little bit more. Let's see, let's add another coat to our cheeks up here. I think those are a little light still, so I'm going to grab some worn lipstick and add a little bit of that on the outside here. And let's just bring that in a little bit more. And maybe a little bit on the other side. Alright, I'm going to let that dry for a second, but also I forgot her neck right here, so while that's drying, let's get some tattered rose. We'll dab a little dab of that in there. Maybe a little bit more. Give that a second. And we can also do her little hair bow right here, so let's go ahead and add some Victorian velvet to that. And she's got one just a little bit showing over here. Alright, cheeks. I'm kind of liking those. Maybe a little bit more on this one over here. Okay, I think that's going to be plenty for that. And I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of, let's do some seedless preserves to some of our flowers here, as long as we're waiting for some stuff to dry. So I've grabbed a little bit of my seedless preserves, and I'm going to go in here and kind of swirl it around. Okay, and then I'm going to take that and just move it around in my flowers. Give them a little bit more of a purple. I'm going to grab me a little bit more. Do a little bit down here. I think I'll darken these up just a tad bit more. Okay, that looks good. And I'm going to add a little bit to my hair bows. A little bit in here. Oops, I got a little bit on my finger, it looks like, and touch down right here. So let's kind of smooth that out. Pick that right up. That looks good. Okay, so cheek color. Okay, my cheeks are dry, so I'm going to go ahead and go in and I'm going to add another layer of my tattered rose over the top. I'm going to grab some of that, and I'm going to go like this. Dab a little bit of that off. And I think I'll bring maybe a little bit over from this side right here. While our cheeks or our face is drying there, I don't want to go work on her hair, so let's add a coat of Victorian velvet to our pants. So she's got just a little bit of a strap showing right here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then we're going to go down here and add some color to our slacks. Okay, that looks pretty good to get started, so let's now move that around. And cover up the rest of our area. I got a little bit on our shirt, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And I got some on this little heart. Let's go up here. I think our cheeks are dry now, so let's go up here and add a coat of antique linen to our hair. And we'll work this stuff this way. And it's just to give it a little bit of color underneath. And then you let that dry for a second. Let's hop down here and add our seedless preserves to our pants. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that. And let's start over here on this side. And this will give it a nice pinkish purple tone. Whoops. I'm getting a little bit more, but that might be a little bit too much. Work this around a little bit more. Okay, that's a good start, so we're going to let that dry. Okay, while we were painting our pants, our hair dried, so let's go up here and add some walnut stain. So I'm going to start with my walnut stain right down here and above our little hair tie. And wipe off that excess, and then I come in and just use that little bit I put down to add a little bit of streaks. And grab a little bit more. And let's do the roots up here. And I'm going to do it down here by our hair bow. And she's got just a little bit up here that looks like there's a couple of lines on this side, so I'm going to add a little dab there. You can hardly see them, so if you miss them, it's not any big thing. But I'm going to put a little bit on there. And then let's do this side of her part. Now back down here to her pants. So grab some seedless preserves. And let's start over here on this side. Maybe see if we can get a few of these little bumps to have a little bit of color on them. Okay, wipe my brush off. Come in here and smooth that line out. Do the other side too. Work my way around here. Okay, now I need to smooth that line a little bit. Not too much. I'm kind of liking that dark color on that side. And maybe a little bit under her arm. And this leg. Next, let's move on to the bottom of our shoes, and for that we're going to use black soot. That'll give her pants a little bit of a chance to dry. Dab. And this shoe over here. And we can also go up here and do her sleeve of her shirt, because we didn't color that patch on her vest again. And then I wonder if this is pretty dry, so let's try it. I'm going to do the bottom of her sleeve. Okay, and then we want to use that little bit of ink we laid down to pull up into her shirt. Okay, I got a lot of ink, so I'm going to wipe it off. And I come back, bring that up a little bit more, re-wipe, and do this top part. That looks pretty good. Okay, now let's attempt this little heart right here. And go down here and do the shoe. It's dried, so let's give that another little coat. And let's see here, let's do a little bit on these little ruffles. Okay, so give them a little dab, and then I'm going to use that little dab to swirl it around. Alright, so there is our watercolored For You Tilda. She looks pretty cute. She doesn't look, I posted her on the blogs in alternate coloring, and she doesn't look the same. As you can see, whenever I do watercoloring, or even with my Copics, I can never get it the same the second time, but they're both just as cute. So if you'd like to have this card kit, I colored it with Copics for the store. Just head over there. I'll put a link down in the description box, and you can pick her up. If you would like to watercolor her, just put in the comments section when you check out that you would like watercolor paper, and I will toss that in so that you can watercolor her instead. Otherwise, if you have a question, just leave me a comment, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.